Okay, people. So there is a new film just come to Netflix called Fever Dream. Now, it's an adaptation, right? It's an adaptation of a 20 or what was it 2014 book from Samantha Schweblin, who I had come across through the Man Booker Prize. You know, because most years I've been going to the Man Booker, and she's had a couple of stories, right? This one and a later one up in the contention. So it's based on her book, right? So it is from director Claudia Llosa, and she co-wrote the screenplay with Schweblin. Okay, so yeah, I mean the cast, we have Maria Valadere as Amanda, we have Dolores um Fonzie as Carla, German Pelosi as Omar, Gilmero Plaring as Marco, have Amelia Vodavokic as David, um, Gilmina Sobies Laita as Nina, Marcelo Michanez as David as well. Yeah. So the gist of the film is this: a young woman named Amanda lies in pain while a young teenager named David urgently questions her, forcing her to unravel the truth of what happened to her. She is not his mother, and he is not her son. Together, they will reveal a disturbing and evocative tale of broken souls, an invisible lurking terror, and the fragile threads that bind parents and children. So, yes, it's kind of like a psychological thing, right? Um, Now, I do think, right, there are because this is a Spanish film, you know. Um, the director, she's Argentinian, right? And it was filmed in Chile. So it is a foreign film, right? And it's just so happens that, Netflix, I enjoy the fact that they do put a lot of the foreign content up with different audio tracks, right? So, if you can't read subtitles, then there is the still the opportunity to watch a lot of this stuff, which is, that's solid, man. But I do think that there are times when, like, if you're not watching something in its foreign language, its actual language, you may lose some of the impact, right? I think that seems to be, there's I watched Squid Games, right? It irritated me. I but I think some of that may be the dubbing rather than the actual thing. Now, I think even if I'd been able to watch the subtitled original version, it still would have irritated me. But s- not for all the same reasons. You feel me? And so with this Fever Dream, there is some of it that I do think maybe we got lost, right? Because it's very interesting, right? I did like the way they structured the film, because instead of doing the traditional flashbacks, this was this kind of interrogation, not interrogation. She's getting dragged along in a boat, and all these questions, and she's like, David, I don't know. He's like, there's something you're forgetting. Give me all the details. Go back to that time when you first met my mom, right? Well, he says Nina, not mom. But so we then go back to that and we kind of see this thing play out. Then it'll be like, ah, no, it can't be there. Go back to this point, or go back to the beginning again. We don't have much time. And then we get to see all of these events, which I thought was a very good way of doing it, right? It's interesting. It was kind of like, remember Into the Spider Verse, because we'd had a few reboots of Spider Man. Obviously, Tobey Maguire was first. Then we had Andrew Garfield, right? Which then just retold a lot of the stuff that we'd already seen just a few years before. So when you had the new the Homecoming and Into the Spider Verse, you did fear, oh please don't do that retread, right? And Homecoming didn't, and Into the Spider Verse, it gave you a flashback of the stuff, but in that really smart, clever way, right? And I enjoy a film that plays with giving you certain information that probably know, right? But there's a few people that don't. So how do we give you that information without having to bore people? So I thought this was one of those, right? Relaying all this information in this kind of interesting manner. There is stuff in here that, again, I'm not sure if it's just the language thing, because there's certain questions or things that seemed a little repetitive, or it's just some of the information. Like, I think you have this kid David running around the spot, right? And they don't just grab hold of him and say, "Yo, what's the deal, son? Tell me what's going on." Like, it's just, oh look, he's just running around. You're just like, wait, what? What is happening here? You know, which it doesn't really make any sense. And especially at the end, right? You'd be like, wait, why don't you just ask him a question? Because he does talk. It's not like he doesn't talk. He does talk in the thing, right? So yeah, it's a little odd. There is some weird things going on here which don't necessarily make any sense. So I think it doesn't quite play out. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like you are getting the answers, and then it just kind of ends, and you're just like, what? There's a lot of things are thrown out there, like postnatal depression and all of this kind of thing, which is, yeah, you're like, okay, that kind of make that, it makes sense, right? I get that. But then there's this other stuff, right? That you're just like, I'm a little bit baffled by that. You know, I'm a little bit baffled by that. Is this a metaphor for something? Because we then see some stuff, right? And I don't think this is a spoiler because it is mentioned in a lot of the different copy that's flying around, but like environmental issues and stuff like that. So you do think a lot of this is an analogy for um pollution, and stuff like, dark water, right? And you had the waste from the factory going into the water supply. So you're thinking, oh, it's this, because we see some things that happen which are like, oh, so that got on that, which then would mean it gets ingested, which then would mean. So you have these things, you'd be like, right, that makes sense. Okay. Then it goes nowhere. And you don't need this whole thing that then leads into a court case that leads into blah blah blah. But just you just go from that to oh, we think this is this, or something that would be like, yes, because it can't be that all these people in this spot have no clue that this is a thing. Or, right, maybe that no one's had the money to be able to do all the full testing, but there would at least be a rumor of, there would at least be a discussion with the locals of this thing, right? This situation. And we don't get that. So I don't know. Maybe I missed something, right? Maybe it was lost in translation, or just maybe I'm being mad clueless and I missed all this shit. But yeah, it just doesn't quite hit the mark for me in this overall story. But I think, look, if you read the book, right, you might have a better understanding of this. Or if you've read any, you know, any other of Schweblin's work, you might be like, yes, no, I understand the way she structures her stories and the way she weaves in, these metaphors and analogies and all of this, right? So I think if you're kind of um used to that, you may get a greater sense of this story, you know? And even just Argentinian writing in itself, because I imagine there is a different flow to it, like everything. When you go to different countries, their literature, the structure is different, So maybe that is it. So yeah, I could have just missed it, people. But you know, it's the joy of storytelling, right? Not every story needs to be for you. You know what I mean? Not every story needs to be for you. So, people, Fever Dream is there. You know what I mean? Right? How do you feel? Do you feel this could be one for you? You know what I mean? Now, because I can't think of anything that I've seen on a similar thing, but I will tell you the films that Netflix will recommend, right? So they say if you like that, you may like Prey, Get In, The Silence of the Marsh, um, Redemption, Prime Time, Stereo. Dear, oh dear. Menace of the King, Earth and Blood, which you may think, I don't know. I don't know if any of these things make any sense. And what I think it does tell you, people, is the Netflix recommendation algorithm is pretty trash. The amount of times it tells me, oh, you watch this, you must like this. And I'm like, no. No. But yeah, there you go, people. Fever Dreams is now on Netflix. So, if it sounds like it could be for you, go enjoy it.